Hello, this is Lisa Graham, and I am reflecting on what my biggest challenge was, kind of looking at it collectively over the course of the entire program. And I think one thing that was really true for me is that what I thought my original challenge was going to be at the beginning ended up not being my biggest challenge and actually felt like one of my biggest successes. And that was really, I was very intimidated at the beginning of this program and even signing up for it with trying to understand all of the technologies and actually jumping in and getting in the trenches and doing the work and putting my hands on it. I think there was a wall there that made me feel like, oh, I can't do that. And the more I practiced things and was forced to do things just out of necessity, even making videos and making Screencastify videos, I was so far out of my comfort zone that it's funny to reflect now on, okay, it's time to make a video. It's so second nature at this point because I've been doing it for an entire year that it feels very comfortable to know how far I've come in that process and what was my biggest challenge is not anymore. So when I looked at the ISTE standards and reflected through kind of the whole process and especially the practicum, I think the two that stood out to me both fell in. I did the standards for educational leaders, and those are the ones that I've been using throughout the entire program. So I wanted to stay true to them in my reflection. So for me, under the educational leaders, standard 5 really focuses on being a connected learner and has 4 standards below it that tie back into how do you stay connected with yourself, your staff, current technologies. And this one really spoke to me because there were 2 elements that jumped out. ISTE 5A is the one I think that I'm most concerned about, and that's really setting goals on how do you remain current with all the technology that's coming out. One thing that was intimidating for me at the beginning was I felt like a lot of my teachers knew what to do with technology and what programs were out there way more than I did because they were living in that world all the time and trying to find new things to implement into their classroom. And I haven't been in the classroom for 15 years. And so it just kind of fell off the radar of maybe I need to stay current with those also. One thing that was really helpful was some of my classes forced me to be current. They forced me to go out and research and look up some programs that maybe fit a certain category. And exploring those and seeing what was out there was uh, very eye opening for me. And I think one of my, and probably my biggest struggle in completing this program is now trying to figure out how do I continue my learning when I'm not in a structured environment and when I'm not forced to do it. So I am taking some small steps, like I've joined a professional organization here in California. We call it SEPTA, and it's an organization for technology professionals who live in the world of education. So I'm hoping that one keeps me current and that I can form some relationships in some small groups that would allow that dialogue, kind of like I'm used to going through the program. So that by far is my biggest challenge is how do I continue this? How do I continue my trajectory? How do I continue my education in a way that's very intrinsically motivated now, not because I'm part of a program? The second thing out of ISTE 5 and that connected learner, this one was a kind of a secondary one, but I thought it was still worth calling out, is developing those skills. They kind of tie together, developing those skills that I need to go first understand what changes need to be made, and then how do we go through navigating those changes and implementing them in the world of technology, because the ultimate focus is that our technology is actually improving learning. So this is one that I think I'd really go deep in with my staff and start to assess where are we at now, even what is our perception of where we're at now, and then how do we get to the place that we want to be. And then the one thing I do feel pretty comfortable with is how do you make those steps happen in between? But I don't know what my starting point is and what my ending point is. Unfortunately, in the world that we're all living in right now, I feel like our priorities have drastically shifted. Right now, we're just focusing on how do we get kids in school and get started. Here in California, I don't think that's going to happen. I think there's going to be announcements today, actually, that set the stage that say if you're on a watch list, you're not going to open with kids. So the technology becomes incredibly important to distance learning, but on the back end, it's not going to be our top priority right now for making changes and navigating those unless it happens organically and naturally out of the work that teachers are doing with distance learning. So I think those are my biggest challenges summed up. It's a little bittersweet. I think this might be one of the last videos that I end up making for this program. And I'm hoping that those challenges that we've reflected on become kind of the next hurdle that we get to clear, and we get to do that independently outside of the program. So it's been a great ride. I've enjoyed every bit of it, and am very excited that I went through this process. Would do it again in a heartbeat. Thank you.